Hello, everybody. This is a practice quiz for today's quiz on phrases. I promised I would try to make these a little bit more interesting, but we'll see how it goes. So the directions stated that you had to find phrases, and being the amazingly nice teacher that I am, I did put the phrases, as you can see here, in bold, and I told you in parentheses how many there were, so this is a gift. Let's start with the first one. Mrs. Nettles, our math teacher, sang a song about Charlie Brown. Of course she did. She's obsessed. But we have two phrases here. The first phrase is a prepositional phrase about Charlie Brown. And we know it's prepositional because, of course, about is a preposition, and Charlie Brown is a noun. He's the object of the preposition. Our other phrase is in a positive. It's in a positive because it's a noun phrase. A math teacher's a noun, and it renames Mrs. Nettles. Mrs. Nettles is our math teacher, and of course our math teacher is Mrs. Nettles. I'm not doing very well at making this interesting, am I? Sorry. Moving on. Looking through the window, Mr. Core saw 3 male turkeys in the neighbor's yard. Okay. 3 phrases we're looking for. It might help, by the way, which I didn't do before, and I should have, to find the subject and the verb. And that will be more obvious to you in number 2. So the subject is Mr. Core. And what did he do? He saw. And what that tells us is when we go to look for our phrases, that this word looking here is not the main verb in the sentence. Saw was the main verb in the sentence. So that means looking could be an ing verb that starts off a phrase, which of course is a participial phrase. Participial phrases start with ing or ed verbs, and they describe the noun next to them. Mr. Core tells us more about what Mr. Core was doing. It didn't rename Mr. Core like math teacher renames Mrs. Nettles, but it describes Mr. Core. It tells us that Mr. Core was looking through the window. Now, in that participial phrase is also a prepositional phrase, through the window. So that's 2. How many more do we have, class? 1 more to find to get a total of 3. In the neighbor's yard is a prepositional phrase. There's the 3rd one. Is this fun yet? I thought so. The students should have been reading their novels. Only 1 phrase. For all of you that memorized that lovely Jingle Bells song, you know that there are 23 helping verbs. And you know that should is a helping verb. And you know that have is a helping verb, and been is a helping verb, and reading is an action verb. So what does that make this whole thing? A verb phrase. There it is. For no reason, Mrs. Nancy danced across the crowded room. That would be ugly. Terrible dancer. Okay. Subject. Mrs. Nancy, action verb, danced. Oh man, I forgot it up above again too. Student, subjects, reading, verb, which we found. Okay, anywho, let's look for the phrases now in number 4. For no reason's a prepositional phrase, and across the crowded room. That was an easy one. Number 5. Mr. DeMar, looking across the room, noticed the plate of cookies in the corner. He is obsessed with cookies, by the way. If you ever want to get on Mr. DeMar's good side, give him cookies. So the subject is Mr. DeMar. Noticed is the action verb. So now let's find our phrases. Of cookies is 1. In the corners is another one. That makes 2. Across the room's another one. That makes 3. But then look at this whole big one here. It starts with an ing, has commas on either side. Looking across the room is a participial phrase, the whole thing. It gives more information about Mr. DeMar, but it wasn't the main verb in the sentence. Noticed was the main verb. Next one. Our school is succeeding with our goals. Subject is our school. The verb is, helping verb, succeeding, action verb. So what are our phrases? Well, we know when we have a helping verb and an action verb, we have a verb phrase. So there's one. With our goals is a prepositional phrase, so that's two. Mr. Bowers fed the class pet, our goldfish, named Bait. Seems like something Mr. Bowers would have and something he would name his fish if he had one. Subject is Mr. Bowers and verb is fed. Okay, so let's find some phrases. Our goldfish renames what our pet is. Our pet is a goldfish, so that's in a positive. Okay, the goldfish is the pet and the pet is the goldfish. But this is an ED verb, and phrases that begin with an ED or ing verb that describe the noun they're next to are participle phrases. So named Bait describes the goldfish, so it's a participle phrase, and the goldfish renames the pet, so the goldfish is in a positive phrase. Number 8, language arts, my favorite class, clearly, is so easy. Okay, the subject is language arts, and the linking verb is. So what's our phrase? It's in a positive. My favorite class renames what language arts is. Language arts is my favorite class. My favorite class is language arts. Okay, the last one. Pushed to her limit. My mom removed the PlayStation from my room. I'm sure some people have had this happen. My mom is the subject. Removed is the action verb. So what are our phrases? Well, here's a big phrase that starts with an ED verb. Who was pushed to her limit? My mom was. And that ED verb is not the main verb in the sentence. Removed was. So this is a participle phrase. It describes my mom. But be careful, in that participle phrase is a prepositional phrase. So there's two of the three phrases. And there's a third phrase right there, a prepositional phrase. So hopefully this will help you on your quiz. Take your time, use your posters. You don't have to find the subject and the verb like I did here in blue, but I recommend it just because it helps you, especially with the participle part. Good luck.